We're here at Lost Lake Campground, Willamette National Forest here in Oregon. Let's go check out the campsites. Here is campsite 1 on the left. You got a nice long driveway. You can tell you got a lot of background noise from the main highway. Nothing you can do about that, unfortunately. Part of the cost of doing business staying here at Lost Lake Campground. You got your picnic table, fire pit straight ahead. Pull back and show these cool mossy trees, old growth forest. An area you can park your vehicle right there. Beautiful little area. So it looks like a little bit of snow. Cool stump. Not the best shade, so definitely what I call a sunscreen site. You got a couple little baby trees. We are as close to the highway as you can get at this campground. I think as we go deeper into the campground, the road noise will dissipate. I don't know if it'll go down to zero, but it'll get quieter and quieter. You can see straight ahead the silhouette. That is Lost Lake, namesake for this campground. So that was site 1. Let's continue along. Just past site 1, looks like you got a little access area closer to the lake. That does not look like a site to me. That is just a community access area to get you closer to the shoreline of beautiful Lost Lake. So be aware of that. That appears to be between 1 and 2. Looks like that is general public access. And got number 2 here on the left. There's the main campground road straight ahead for bearings. And here is our parking. These have good square footage. They have a wide open feel to them, so these are not claustrophobic sites, which I appreciate. You got a fire pit straight ahead, picnic table over there on the right. You pan back, there's our campground road. Here's your territory, pretty flat. A lot of places you can put your tent. You can probably park straight ahead there, put your tent over there, maybe over there, or over there. Several places, flat zones, you can put your tent. Tent placement will not be a problem. I will say, again, not the best shade. You do have good views of Lost Lake right there. That's nice, but also it's not very well shaded. Sunscreen sites, I call these. So that was site 2. Again, great square footage. Continue along. We're walking farther away from the highway with every step, but the highway is long and vast and kind of echoes across Lost Lake to our right. So I don't really know if we're ever going to escape the highway noise here, but it's okay. There is Lost Lake. You do have a lot of different ways you can get down to it. It's like we have our next campsite here on the right. We'll check this out. So here is site 3. You got a picnic table right here. You are on the shoreline. You do have the highway straight ahead, so you always have the sight and sound of vehicles straight ahead, unfortunately. You do have your own access here to Lost Lake, which is premium. You can see a little bit of dirty forest between you and the lake, but very beautiful overall. I think this is your best access point straight ahead. Walk up to beautiful Lost Lake. In fact, we will do that. Come on down here. And not bad, pretty flat, pretty easily accessible. Get a good sense of the lake right there. I think you get the picture. And you got good access over there. You do have your friend right here. So here's another picnic table. Here's your picnic table. So that's 3. This is going to be presumably 4. Got your fire pit picnic table right there. So not the best lot lines for 3 and 4, but by having 3, you do get this vast shoreline right here of Lost Lake. Again, remember that that's the main highway. So you'll see and hear cars. It can be a little jarring when a giant semi is going by. Their air brakes, the sound permeates through this area. It's pretty loud, so might impact your sleep depending on the schedule of the trucks and the vehicles. Might keep you awake all night. So if your main goal is to get a pin drop quiet night sound of sleep, then frankly this entire area, Lost Lake Campground, might not be the campground for you. It's a very high quality Willamette National Forest area, but it's not exactly like long forest road deep into the woods, pin drop quiet. It's right up against the highway. So here's your restroom, here's your pay area, here's your pillar for 4. You are on the shoreline of Lost Lake. Do remember you have the highway straight ahead. Come around here to our picnic table fire pit. Here it is, picnic table fire pit. You do have a pretty good line of sight breakage to your neighbor 3. I will point out again, here's your shoreline access, pretty straight ahead right to the water. So that is pretty good. That's 4. So 3 and 4 as a group play would be really good, because then you've taken that whole area over. You just start sacrificing the constant road noise in the background, which some people, it's like a big deal breaker. Other people could care less. So different strokes, different folks. You do you. Here is site 5, tucked in there. I almost missed it. You got the pillar. Again, here's our restroom. Let's check this out. So you park up against these rocks. So this is kind of a park, walk-in, tent-only situation. You're gonna have to carry your gear down this primrose path, this yellow brick road, and come down here. It's one of those where you got to work to set up your site, but once you get all your gear over here and you get set up, you feel like it was worth it because you got a little away from the main road. So look at this. This is nice. Get the highway straight ahead. That's literally the highway on the other side of this lake. But I mean, look at this lake. Let me pan over here. This is beautiful. This is gorgeous. You do have what I often refer to as a dirty forest shoreline here, but you do have your own lake access point to Lost Lake. And let me pan around here. You got a picnic table, fire pit. Again, there's your path. But remember, this is a walk-in tent only. You got to lug your gear, whatever it is, 100 feet. But once you're here, this is your domain, and this is your swath of the lake. So pretty interesting setup here for 5. The restroom right past 5. Let's continue along. We're going deeper into Lost Lake. The farther we're going this way, frankly, the better, because the farther away we're getting from the highway and the ambient highway road noise, which is not necessarily the background dulcet tones you're seeking if you're coming camping. So we'll see if you ever actually fully get away from it, or if it at least gets dampened, which would be an improvement. Let's continue along, my friend. We got our last little pocket of snow here. Today's May 7th, 2025. A little residual snow because of the shade of that spot. With a little more up here, actually, the farther we're going up. So we saw the first 5 of 15. We're a third of the way done going through this campground. Kind of an interesting, eclectic campground. It's my first time here. Kind of liking it, actually. Really, the only thing I don't like is the highway road noise. I think I've mentioned that a time or 5, but the lake itself is pretty. Campground itself seems interesting. I like these trees. It's a interesting blend of trees. So kind of digging the vibe of this area overall, I gotta say. I think for the right kind of camper, Lost Lake can be a nice little gem. Okay, so kind of an eclectic design. Here's 6, picnic table, fire pit. There's 7, picnic table, fire pit. They share this roundabout. That's the eclectic part. Let's walk over here. They're both on the shoreline of Lost Lake. Picnic table, fire pit. It's like Lost Lake's there, but it's kind of dirty forest between you and the lake. Again, picnic table, fire pit. You can see 7 right there. And then there's the pillar for 7, and this is your shared turnabout. So kind of an interesting eclectic area. You don't really have premium access to Lost Lake, but you can see the lake from your campsite. You don't have the best privacy lines with 7. Here is site 7, there is 6. Here is our access point to Lost Lake. So you can see, again, I call it dirty forest. It's not a pristine shoreline, but you can get to the shoreline. Here's our little lake access point. The lake itself is beautiful. I mean, look at that. That is beautiful, my friend. Pan over here. Beautiful zone, getting the highways across the way. I do dig the area. I love Willamette National Forest. Come back around here. So that is the access of 7. I just wish that Lost Lake wasn't right up against the highway and you didn't have a constant stream of like highway noise and trucks behind you. It's a major thoroughfare of trucks going through the area. So you never really get that full zen pin drop silence that, frankly, the beauty of this area kind of suggests. That's the only thing missing from this area is the quiet background ambiance. Now, if this campground was like 5 miles away from the main highway down a forest road, and this was a lake that wasn't right up against the highway, this would be a premium campground, but gets knocked down a few pegs just because it's kind of this highway play. And that was 6 and 7. Some more snow here. Today is May 7th, 2025. I think I picked the right time to do this because even just a week ago, this still had enough snow that you wouldn't really probably be able to fully do the campground review. So it's kind of interesting doing campground reviews because obviously you got to have nobody here. You kind of need it to be closed. So that really only gives you the shoulder seasons of like May and October. It's really only a couple of weeks of a year you can really do a proper campground review with nobody at the campground. So you gotta time it for May or October, and then depending on the elevation and the snow, some of them just aren't doable in May. Those can only be done for a week or 2 in October. So a little bit of a game trying to time coming here to do it, but I think it's worth it. And here's our campground road. Here is site 8. Now this has got a special feel to it. I'm already digging this. This feels grandiose. You stop and pen back. Epicosity as far as Willamette National Forest. Sometimes you come around to a campsite and you get that angel singing feel, like it's the feng shui. It just feels good walking into it, like you're coming somewhere special. It's been meticulously crafted, and that's the vibe I got. As soon as I came around the corner to 8, I was like, wow, this feels prominent, a lot of square footage, and it's shoreline access, and it's also a little less highway. So here's our view from campsite 8. As you can see, you got a picnic table here. This one's got that peninsula feel. It feels like it's a U shape around the campsite. See, the water even goes around that way. So because of just this being like a jutted peninsula, you got shoreline on 3 sides. Gives you a lot of different little access points. So you don't even have to focus to my right where the highway is. You can come straight ahead to this part of the lake that really isn't as highway facing, although it's still to our right. So I don't know, site 8 is pretty legit. I mean, look at this. This is pretty gorgeous, my friend. You got a lot of different fun access points. Again, keeping it real, this is like dirty forest. You got a lot of underbrush, and the lake itself has got a lot of brush in it. So this is kind of a rustic campground. I think that might be the word, rustic. But the birds like it. See, they're like, come stay here at Lost Lake. You're crazy not to. That's actually their best sales team. A little trio of birds. They're on the payroll, my friend. So this might be the best shoreline yet here at site 8. Look at this. This is gorgeous. You do still have the road noise, of course, but I mean, this is pretty epic and panoramic. This is a lot of square footage for one campsite. I mean, it's not an overstatement to say that this is your domain, my friend. Kind of a dirty section of forest, kind of a dirty section of the lake, keeping it real. Doesn't have that pristine manicured feel, but hey, that's okay. Who needs that, right? This is rustic camping, Willamette National Forest. So, I mean, look at how vast this campsite is. I mean, you got this whole world's your oyster, and then this peninsula all the way to the lake is your domain. So, I don't know. 8's pretty epic. Gotta say, one of the biggest square footage campsites you're ever gonna find anywhere. It's vast. And the second you start coming down the driveway, it has that grandiose estate feel, like you're coming up to a mansion. It's got a pretty cool feel to it. So I dig 8. There's, by the way, your fire pit. I don't know if I ever showed that. Picnic table, fire pit, essentially located. No shade, so definitely a sunscreen site at your fire pit, but I think you can live with that. Hang back around. See, there's your fire pit framing our peninsula of Lost Lake. I will also say where these rocks are situated, it feels like it's set up for multiple vehicles, a giant group area. 8's kind of a hidden treasure. It's picnic table, fire pit, kind of a peninsula right up against Lost Lake, parking for several vehicles, nice long driveway, kind of privately located. This section of Lost Lake Campground. So I don't know, I'm digging 8. 8's, I think, the highest quality so far. I will say very complimentary to Lost Lake Campground. It's one of the best well-spaced campgrounds I've seen as we look at the shoreline of Lost Lake here. 8 was like an ocean by itself, and 6 and 7 was an ocean by itself. Here we're up to 9, so they did a good job kind of spacing it out. Each one feels like its own little area. Here's 9. Stop here, look at that. That's beautiful. You got a beautiful section shoreline of Lost Lake. Obviously parked kind of on the shoulder, not a full driveway. There's your picnic table, fire pit. There's your view of the lake. Remember, you do have the highway there as far as the road noise. View of vehicles. None happen to be coming right now, thankfully. Lucky alignment. Walk right in the water straight ahead. That's just flat. Got a lot of lake access here at 9. So 9's actually pretty good. You're right up against the lake here. And I love the ridge on the other side of the highway there. You still got some snow. It's May 7th, 2025. So haven't fully melted, shoulder season style. Look at that. And look at that. Very beautiful. So this is site 9. This is legit too. I gotta say, I have driven by Lost Lake on the highway many times. I was kind of biased against it because of its highway access, but now that I'm actually here, it's actually pretty high quality. I mean, 8 is so far over there, you can't even really see it. 9 is just like by itself here. I see a sign over there, but I mean, this spacing, look at this lake. This lake is beautiful, and 9 is like by itself here, right on the lake. So I'm digging 9. The deeper we go into Lost Lake, the better. 8 and 9 were the best so far, my friend. 8 and 9 are legit. Don't sleep on 8 or 9 here at Lost Lake Campground. Pan back around, look at that. Gorgeous, my friend. Lost Lake. And let's keep going. The day use area. Pan over here, you see the view of the lake. So this is officially the day use area. So keep that in mind for the last one we just did, site 9. You got day use area, picnicking only, it says. People come over here and see all these rocks here on the right. These are kind of makeshift parking spots. So you will have day users come in and using this part of the shoreline, having picnics and so forth. So that picnic table straight ahead right here, this is not a campsite, this is a day use picnic site. So you see the vast shoreline of Lost Lake. Here's a beautiful picnic site. This is a day use area. People park right up against these rocks as their edge of their parking. And then they get to use this whole area, this little peninsula jutted U as their domain to play, spend some time with the fam. And that right there is where they would picnic. So this is a high quality day use site. I'm digging it. Still have the snow across the way up there. Then you got access to Lost Lake. So I would also point out there's a restroom right there. So that's nice. And here's our road right there. So keep in mind if you're at 9 that there's a day use area next to you, but it's far enough away. I don't think it'll cramp your style. Here's even more parking. Kind of a beautiful little area to have a day use picnic. Again, there's a picnic table. Use that long log. Go over to the lake. Let's continue along. So the day use area is next to site 9, but it was so far away from site 9 that it really didn't feel like it was cramping 9 style. I've seen some where the day use picnic sites are like 10 or 20 feet away from a campsite. And if you're at that campsite, you're kind of miserable if there's people using it all day because they're kind of right up in your personal business, violating your personal boundaries and space. So that's not one of those. That's so far away that even if there were day users there, you would barely notice them. It's a pretty far distance. So Lost Lake is ridiculously well spaced. One of the best spaced campgrounds I've been to in a long time, actually. Like, if they really wanted to be greedy, which sometimes is the feel you get at some campgrounds around the country, they could have packed a lot more sites in here than just 15. I mean, look right here. This is a section of shoreline that's just no man's land. They absolutely could throw a couple campsites in there if they were just trying to do the revenue play, and props to them. I'm not suggesting they do that because I like that they seem to craft these a bit more spaciously and thoughtfully, which is what I like. So my first time ever at Lost Lake Campground, but this guy's leaving a fan, I think. Okay, so we just walked down this very long campground forest road. Come around here, we got this kiosk. It looks like this is a trailhead. There's a trail behind it. This is the end of the line, so we have this loop right here. Kind of funny, after a really long walk, looks like they did sardine the last few sites in kind of one big cluster. These ones do not look like they got as good at privacy lines as 8 and 9 might be the best ones here, but we will give them all a fair shake. This is just a loop of like a cluster of sites. So let's come down and take a look. So a beautiful area. As you can see, we got Lost Lake straight ahead. Here is 11, kind of a center inner landlubbers site, I call them. So picnic table, fire pit. This one's got the forest campground road all around you, and there's sites over there and sites really in every direction. So I probably wouldn't do 11. Probably the first actually low quality one here, which is really a compliment to Lost Lake Campground overall. Here is 12. 12 is also an inner landlubber site and actually definitely a sunscreen site. You've got fire pit. That's for 11, so I don't even know if 12 has a picnic table. I will show you there's the lake. Yeah, so very bright sunscreen site. Doesn't even look like there's a picnic table for 12 that I'm seeing. So maybe it's, in all fairness, we're off season, so maybe they're in the process of repairing comparing that. So this is 13. You see we're on the shoreline, the far end of Lost Lake from the highway. So you park up here. Please pardon the disheveledness, we're off season, so I'm sure they'll come clear this out before they're open for prime time. You got 2 picnic tables here, so it's a doubler. Good square footage. You got great access to Lost Lake. So that's good. No sun break, so you definitely a sunscreen site. Like, you got no shade. If you come here August, September, you're gonna bake to death. So that's something to be aware of. But beautiful zone, I'm digging it. We have Lost Lake in every direction this way. This is 13. We'll continue along. Remember, 12 and 11 are both landlocked right here. So that's your closest sight lines as far as other sites, but you do have some breakage with the trees. So 13's good. Although I don't love the way they put this whole cluster of like 5 sites in one little area. See right there, that's the picnic table for 11. So let's stop here and look back. I mean, this is a beautiful zone. How could you not love that? But it's almost kind of communal because 11 and 12 are going to want to access that part of the lake too. So because you have a cluster in this final loop at the end of Lost Lake, I'm not digging this entire loop candidly. 13 is definitely the best. But I'd rather be at 8 or 9. I think those are the stars of Lost Lake Campground because they have shoreline, but they're by themselves. So it's not a communal shoreline, it is a private shoreline. So here's 14, there's 15. This is kind of what I call wishbone campsites, not a good thing. Kind of poor lot lines between the two of them. See, that's the picnic table for 14. Here's your proximity to Lost Lake. There's the picnic tables for 15. So again, 15, there's 2 of them. 14, way too close. 15, 14 to drive the point home. So not great. And here's the end of our loop for this cluster. Remember, you also have 11 and 12 this way, 13 at the end. So after that long walk down here, they did make the mistake of clustering a big group together. So here's 15. Remember, that's 14 in the lake. Here's our parking up against these rocks for 15. Good shade. 2 picnic tables, fire pit in the middle. So great shade. Good news is, you see this way, you're right on the end of the forest. So there's nothing that way. That is your domain. So that's a win. Again, 2 picnic tables, fire pit. But look how close 14 is. You don't really have your own private access to Lost Lake. So I do find it kind of hilarious walking Lost Lake. Lost Lake is vast and spread out. It's one of the biggest campgrounds I've seen for only 15 sites. In some sections, they absolutely could have crammed in more sites on the shoreline. So in one way, I give them mass props for that. But on the other end, they did happen to do this final loop and cluster like 5 sites together in a way that was not ideal. So as we came down here, I was hoping these were going to be the money shot, and they were not. This was just kind of a poor privacy line final cluster, final little loop here to end Lost Lake. So we've gotten to the end of Lost Lake and now we're going back. Okay, so I just walked all 15 sites here at Lost Lake Campground, Willamette National Forest, Oregon. My first time here, I gotta say, I am walking away impressed. I am a fan. Probably the main negative is Lost Lake's right up against the highway. So virtually every site, well, all 15 sites has loud, prominent highway noise. That's probably the main strike against Lost Lake Campground. In the plus column, it's very well spaced for the most part. Unusually large square footage, like footprint for only 15 sites. And there's long walks, like one I'm on right now, from site to site, particularly in the middle of the campground. So those are all wins. I would say the 2 best sites here, without a doubt, are 8 and 9. 8's epic. It's like you're driving up to a mansion. It's got like, a proper driveway with prominent trees. It's in a peninsula with a lake on 3 sides. Lost Lake, a lot of shoreline access. 8's legend. If you can grab 8, you'll be happy. I also fell in love with 9. It's a bit down the road from 8. It's also got a premium flat shoreline section. It is next to Dace Area, but Dace Area is pretty far away. So I think 8 and 9 are definitely the stars. I think another really high quality group play is 6 and 7. If you got a big group, grab 6 and 7. They kind of share a turnabout. Gives you a whole swath of the shoreline. So that's probably the premium zone, 6, 7, 8, 9, but 8 and 9 are first for single party. 6, 7 is really more of a group play because they're right on top of each other. That's my recommendation. Those are the ones I would personally stay at. The rest of them, the first few are too close to the highway, and the last cluster is a little too on top of each other as far as privacy lines, and of course you always have the highway noise. So overall, I gotta say, this was my first time here at Lost Lake Campground, Willamette National Forest, Oregon. I'm glad I stopped by. Overall, I am leaving a fan. I highly recommend Lost Lake Campground.